Good morning. Here is your investment basics bonus, not a mini class. I wanted to share what happened with this amazing coaching call yesterday. I was with a woman that was really anxious about the decisions that her and her spouse had made, and was it still the right thing? They had, term life or whole life. How is that for an investment? What about investing in the stock market? Am I going to do better in the stock market if I get rid of a policy and just take the cash value? I mean, so much swirling in this woman's head, and I think that we can relate. As we talked more, I found out some personal money trauma when this beautiful woman, who is amazing, a nurse with her own business, and she shared a story when she was young that her father died when she was 9 years old. Her mother became a single mom and had later found out there was a debt that the father had that the mom did not know about. And then all of a sudden she found out she had to pay this debt. So I cannot imagine how much trauma that was for the mom and the daughter to go through that. But I bet that if you think back to your past, you have some money trauma as well. I do. My mom was a single mom, and she never shared anything about finances with me. So I was clueless. I understood she had stress. At one point, she was working 3 different jobs to support me and my brother. Another point, she found a better job and was going to school to increase her income, increase her skills. So bottom line is, we probably did not learn good money mental habits. And that's super important in investing, having the good money mental habits. Facing your trauma and realizing that you're not a child anymore in a situation that's out of your control. You're adults now. And if you're sharing these things with your teens to help them become great with their money, they are of an age where they can be responsible and they can learn responsibility. The fact of the matter is, nobody's going to care more about you and your family than yourself. Now, is there a place for financial advisors? Absolutely. There absolutely is a place, but before you even go to a financial advisor, you need to understand yourself. Are you okay with risk? Do you hate risk? What is your timeline? What is your plan? How much money do you want to grow? How much do you want to withdraw? What's your situation? What is your lifestyle? Do you want to live high on the hog and act like a millionaire? Or are you relatively frugal? You need to understand those things before you even see a financial advisor. You also need to understand the difference between advisors that make a commission off what they sell you and advisors that have a fee. All right, again, you need to understand what you want, and you need to understand your personality. And now let's talk about you having figured out all of that, and you have an advisor. Maybe it's even a family member or a friend. You trust them. And trust is essential, but I will tell you what, every human being has a bias. Every human being has different perceptions than you might have. And you might get a trusted financial advisor that has a bias that you don't agree with. So again, you need to understand yourself. And when you go to any financial advisor, any CPA, any tax person, whatever, you need to have a clear picture on what you want. Otherwise, you're going to be sold something, and what you get sold might not align with what you want. Everybody is selling something. Everybody is selling their opinion. Everybody wants to be right. Look at it in your own family. Whether you're dealing with your children or a spouse, disagreements happen because you have a difference of opinion. One person wants this, another person wants that. It's okay. It's human. But you need to be confident in yourself. And that's where a financial coach comes into play. And this really became apparent yesterday because as we talked through these different financial ideas and dilemmas that this beautiful woman was going through, I did not want to give her my opinion because my opinion is good for me. I wanted to draw out from her, for her to realize what she really wanted. So what a financial coach will do is they will ask you questions, they will listen, and that's what you want. So this is part of the reason why I'm here. This is part of the reason why I do these classes is you get to learn to ask yourself questions. You get to learn to take steps that will move you forward. And if I say something, I've said this before, don't trust me. Go verify. My word is not the gospel. I have some good advice and I've had some bad advice. I've learned a lot. But even the best advice that somebody has to give that is excellent for them, that's changed their lives, might not work for you. So you need to take everything and view it in a perception with how it's going to work for you. And that's it. That's what we all need to do. There was, again, in this call, and it was just so powerful. The person shared that they listened to Dave Ramsey, and I listened to Dave Ramsey. There's some great advice. And then I listened to him, and there's some stuff that I 100% disagree with, that if I would have followed that advice from my situation, I would not be a debt-free millionaire right now. Bottom line. So again, every person may have some good advice that's great for them or great for somebody else, might not be great for you. How do you figure it out? Well, there was a situation where apparently Dave Ramsey is very much against whole life insurance policies. Now, what does that have to do with investments? Most whole life policies will pay a dividend, and at some point that dividend will pay the premiums if the person who's insured lives that long. And then you get a policy and you don't have to pay the premium anymore because it's being paid for you by dividends, all right? So it does take a certain amount of time. It's not going to happen the first year or two you have the policy. But Dave Ramsey was like, no, don't do the whole life. Get a term life. Term life is better, blah, blah, blah. And the person that I was coaching was like, yeah, I'm thinking maybe I need to do this. Well, you know what? Her policy already has the dividends after nearly 30 years that are practically paying for the policy. And the spouse is almost 70 years old. It's going to be a little hard to get term life in that situation. So as we talked through things, she was like, hey, if I invest the money, I get rid of my whole life policy, and I take whatever cash value is left and I invest the money, I can double it in 5 years. So as we're talking, I'm like, okay, that's a great idea that you want to do, but let's ask questions about it. Have you ever invested in the stock market before? The answer was no. So how do you know that you can double it in 5 years if you've never even bought a single stock? You see, asking some questions like that is going to help you make great decisions or better decisions. Sometimes the answer to the question that you have right now is to take a breath, wait, and get a little bit more information. Just step back, get some more information. Find a trusted person and maybe brainstorm it, or find a completely impartial person and brainstorm and ask the questions. But bottom line is, you are always responsible for your own decisions. Another story. Somebody was given some advice by a financial advisor. I think this is rare, but it happens. She was a 64-year-old widow and lost everything. She gave all her money to the financial advisor. I'm guessing there was some market downturn or a crash. Could have been the 2008 financial crisis. I don't know the dates, but basically lost her entire portfolio. And everybody wants to blame the financial advisor. Maybe he was unscrupulous. Maybe he thought he was doing the right thing and really wanted to do his best. I don't know, but in either of those cases, you know whose fault it was? It was the fault of the woman that hired that person. And until we take personal responsibility for our choices, she chose him. Or somebody else chose him for her and she went along with it and everything was gone. Again, the only person to blame is yourself. And when you get to that point, then things are in your control. If you blame everybody else, then everything is out of your control and you're a victim. I'll tell you what, you're not a victim. You are where you're at today because of your choices. And I am hearing it now. Oh no, but I didn't choose to get sick, or I had to go to the hospital, or a car hit me and I was on disability for a year and a half. You know what? I was on disability for a year and a half. And I was in multiple car accidents with neck injuries. That other people ran the red light and hit me. So whose fault was it? Oh, it was their fault because they ran the red light. No, it was my fault because I chose to get in the car that day. I chose to get in the car. I chose to drive down that road. And you know what? Maybe I could have looked more carefully, or maybe not. Maybe there was no way I could have avoided the accident on that road, but I still made the choice to get in the car that day. This is the level of personal responsibility. Now, I'm not talking about other people not having justice for the actions. I did not get the ticket. The other person's insurance paid. That's just who's obviously at fault. I understand that. I was definitely not going to say, oh, it's my personal responsibility that you ran the red light and I'm going to pay for my medical bills. It wasn't that. But I'm talking about in life. We're a result of every choice that we made. Every choice. And you know what? Don't we love the story of an underdog? Don't we love the story of somebody that is crushed or down or going through a tough time because life happens and then they overcome it? I went to an event with Nick Vujicic, maybe pronouncing his name wrong. He was born without arms or legs. Born without arms or legs. He's a millionaire. He goes around talking and he's got like little hands. He's got like 3 fingers on each one. He's got a little foot and he's inspirational. And I heard him speak live in person, even got a picture with him. And I was like, I have no excuses for what's going on in my life. I have 0 excuses. This man, he's married, he's got kids, and he goes around the world inspiring people. He inspired me. And I thought, I have no excuse. This man has no arms and no legs. He didn't let that stop him. I have arms and legs. What's my excuse? What's my excuse? And you know what? I'm telling myself that right now because I'm going through stuff. I've gone through medical stuff probably for the last 30 years. 5 opening my gut operations, 5 operations within 5 years at one point, crazy stuff. And I get tired. I get tired of dealing with it, aside from physically tired. But again, life is precious. What are we doing with our life? And personal responsibility, it's really up to us. Where does this come in with investments? You need to take your own personal responsibility. Don't bet everything on something that's speculative. Okay, manage that. But whatever the results are in your life or the results are that you want, rely on you. And I believe you in God. I believe in prayer. I believe in listening to the still small voice inside us that God put there. And I believe He wants us to have abundance. He did not create us to be miserable. He created us for relationship. He created us for abundance. When you wake up in the morning, God doesn't give you just barely enough oxygen in your room to survive. Another thing that I've been told is, hey, you know what? I just want enough to live on. I want just enough so I'm okay. No, God doesn't want you to have just enough so you're okay. He wants you to have abundance. But you need to take the personal responsibility to work the garden, put the seeds in it, and fertilize it and manage it and pull the weeds out so that that garden will give you a huge harvest. God's going to make it grow. He put all the directions in the seed for it to grow and give you a crop that will keep growing and multiplying forever for your heirs. It's kind of how money is. All right. I have an abundant oxygen in this room. I can breathe in this room. I can get 100 people if they'd fit. There's abundant oxygen for everybody. There's abundant resources for everybody. Make your seeds grow, but no, it's up to you. God is not going to knock on your door and give you a bag of cash. That's not going to happen. You need to take personal responsibility to work. Work is a gift that God gave Adam in the Garden of Eden. He said, hey, go work the garden. Be fruitful and multiply. Work is a gift given by God, and if you accept that gift, He will make your garden grow, your finances grow, but really, it's up to you to take the steps. That's it. Love you. I will see you next time, and hope this was encouraging. You got this.